So have you ever been to prison before? Bit of a strange question. And if the answer is no, you might not understand what it feels like for some homeowners who are living under this tyrannical, evil system called a leasehold. So it might be time to pull out the champagne glasses or maybe head down to your local pub because there might be cause for celebration. You might not believe this, but the UK government are finally doing something to put an end to this feudal leasehold system. The thing is, if you were fortunate enough to own a freehold property, you might not understand the cries, the pleas, the anger, the frustration that leasehold owners, people who have slaved hard, saved money, bought what they thought was a home, something that's theirs, that they can do as they wish, their sanctuary, their peace, but only to find out that they have no real control over that asset. For years, leaseholders have been trapped. They've been forced to pay ridiculously high service charges, crazy escalating ground rents, pay for maintaining properties and lifts that are hardly working, being punched in the face left, right and center with regards to decisions and indecisions regarding their homes, and they just have to take it because they signed a piece of paper that gave power to the freeholder and took power from the leaseholder. So I say this weekend, go out, party, celebrate, because Keir Starmer and Labour might have turned our perceptions around. No, okay, that's pushing it. This is a big, massive move from the Labour government. Is it an indication that they understand that the housing market needs to be fixed? And one of the ways to fix this is to change this completely draconian, evil, feudal leasehold system. If you are an aspiring homeowner or a first-time buyer, this is huge news. This is massive. So let's break down what's changing, what the government are implying they're going to change, what it means for you as an aspiring first-time buyer, what it also means for you if you already own a leasehold property, which isn't too positive, but I'd love to discuss and hear your thoughts in the comment section below. Let's start from the beginning. What is a leasehold? A leasehold property is effectively you are borrowing the usage of that property for a specified amount of time. It's glorified rent. Yes, you own it. There's a piece of paper that states that you own the property, but in reality, it doesn't resemble what ownership truly looks like because you are controlled, because you are told what to do. In many cases, under some leaseholds, you can't decorate or maintain your own property without permission from the freeholder. So the freeholder is the person that owns the land. The leaseholder has a contract, a lease that allows them to utilize that property, your segment of the building, for a period of time. And that could be for 99 years. In some cases, it could be for 999 years. But it comes with a significant lack of control over your largest asset or your prized possession. Because the freeholder controls the assets, they own the land, you are borrowing the usage of that property, there are costs and fees associated with this form of ownership. So there's service charge, there's ground rents, there's any other cost and fees that they feel to throw at you. One of the crazy things that many people don't consider, if you're a renter, maybe you are a freeholder, you might not understand this concept of ground rent. Ground rent is another form of payment that you pay to your freeholder, but there is something called an escalating ground rent. This is why you've got to read your lease and make sure your solicitor talks to you specifically about ground rent. A ground rent can escalate from £250 to £5,000, £6,000, and you have no power over it. But also, if you want to extend your property, you could be hit with charges in the tens and in some cases the hundreds of thousands of pounds. Where is the average person supposed to find that sort of money? In most cases, most people have used every penny that they could scrape together to buy the property in the first place. So where on earth are they supposed to find money to pay for these conjured up magical rates, prices and charges that these freeholders are plucking out of thin air? The government have stepped in with new laws. It's in the proposal phase, but the government are stepping in and they're saying, look, enough is enough. There are 4.8 million people that have been affected in the UK by leasehold issues and leasehold conditions. That's nearly 70% of flats in the UK. It's worth a conversation. It's an overdue conversation, but it's worth a conversation, and the government are finally having this conversation. So the Leasehold and Freehold Reform Bill aims to introduce a few points, and I'm going to go through those points with you and discuss them. So number one, they want to make it easier and cheaper to extend leases up to 990 years. Now this is important because if your lease falls below 80 years, it can cost you thousands of pounds, maybe hundreds of thousands of pounds to extend that lease, and that money goes to your freeholder. They want to scrap the marriage value, which is the amount of money you pay once it hits below 80 years left on the lease. So they want to get rid of that, which will put more money in your pocket if you need to extend your lease and save you tens of thousands of pounds. Number 3, they want to ban leasehold houses. So that means new builds can only be built as freeholds in the future. And the most important thing, they want to give some power back to homeowners to challenge these crazy, unnecessary, astronomical, escalating costs associated with owning a leasehold property. They want to give you a bit more power back to stand up to these big bullies. Now, usually when the government give us something with the right hand, they are trying to take something back with the left hand. So I wouldn't take every single thing here as a matter of fact, but there is something to consider. This information here is for aspiring first-time buyers. This is people who are trying to buy their first property. Now, there are millions of people who already own leasehold properties, who are trapped in this system, who are trapped paying these astronomical fees, who can't sell their properties because of escalating ground rents or crazy service charges or the unmaintained property. The government hasn't really put anything in place to deal with this. I think it's going to be a bit more complicated, and I think that conversation might show up in the next 3, 4, 5 years, but it's still a huge win that this conversation is happening today to help new people trying to get on the property ladder. So existing leaseholders will still have to pay tens of thousands of pounds to extend their lease. That hasn't changed. Now, the downside, and you always have to consider the downside. It's all well and good. The government are saying we're going to help, but the realities are completely different. If developers and freeholders make their money through these charges, and these charges are going to be abolished, and a developer is developing to make money, then the developer's only going to find a creative way to pass on those costs that they've now lost in some shape and some form, in some creative way, back to the first-time buyer. So it means, yes, they might not be able to make the money from service charges and ground rent, but they might just increase the cost of freehold houses. So this cyclical war between developers, the government, and first-time buyers is going to find its way to still continue. So I don't know whether this is what really helps first-time buyers or whether or not we're just putting a bandage over this and opening a gaping wound here. So the truth is this, the government is trying. By no means am I saying, they know what they're doing, but this is big news. This is huge. This is an attempt, and I think it will benefit a lot of people, and it will give a bit more peace of mind to a number of people, and it will give you freedom over your asset and your home. Imagine in some homes, you've got to ask for permission to fit a new kitchen. In some properties, you've got to get permission from the freeholder to paint your house. I can only imagine that's what prison feels like, and I can only imagine some people in leasehold properties are living in their version of prison. Hey guys, if you get any value from this video, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. I would love to hear your thoughts in the comment section. By the way, do you think the government are doing enough, or do you just think they are pretending to do something just to buy time?